convince other people to do anything. And sales are, pretty much about influencing other people's decisions. Getting them to agree to do something with you, to make a deal. Or when you manage someone, it's still, you're influencing other people's decisions, what to do, what not to do. I mean, these days they're talking about how, sales is everywhere on what we do, because as soon as we have to influence another person's decision, we're kind of selling an idea to them. It's the same principles that are at work. Getting into the sales profession, I began to understand, wow, it's not so much about the product, it's about how I go about selling it, it's about how I go about relating to other people. And so I pretty much dedicated my life to searching for the best tools to do that. And once I became a sales manager, some years ago, I had a big team of 400 salespeople working under me, and I was responsible for giving them the best tools, equipping them the best tools to sell. So I kept searching and searching, and this, emotional intelligence, is the most powerful tool that I have found. Like in 17 years of search, I have a whole library of books. I mean, I've been really looking. I've been to all kinds of seminars all over the world, in America, in China, in Europe. I've really searched. And this is the most powerful thing that I have found. And so now, my passion and my job is to share it with other people. Because, today, people begin to learn about that. There's so much, articles everywhere, like on LinkedIn and the internet, about the importance of emotional intelligence in corporate culture, in sales, in management, in personal life, in happiness, everywhere. But people don't know where to get it. I know it's important, but how do I get it? If I wasn't born very emotionally intelligent, and I know I wasn't for sure, I had to do a lot of work on myself, where do I get it? And there are very few resources out there that allow you to actually gain those skills, actually develop them. Most people say, well, meditate more. I'm a big proponent of meditation. I've been doing this for years. It's a very slow process. But what if you need it here and now? What do? So it turns out there are ways to grow those skills fast. And this is what I'm doing these days. And this is what I help people achieve. Grow those skills so they can become more successful at whatever they're doing. So today let's talk a little bit about what is this emotional intelligence? What is it, and how come it is so important in human interactions of whatever kind? Are you curious about that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll have to really squeeze it, but we'll at least go over it. So turns out humans have a whole lot of different types of intelligence. We're used to measuring IQ, right? Which is logical mathematical intelligence, our ability to be logical about things. It's hugely important, obviously. You could say just how smart somebody is. Smart about logic, smart about remembering, smart about math. But look, these days they discovered that there's so many more things that measure human intelligence beyond logic. There is even such a thing as musical intelligence. And if you think about it, somebody's a composer, and I know I'm not, and never will be. I don't have, a developed musical intelligence, but somebody who presented himself earlier here today, and maybe even you, did you mention you want to do music as plan B? I couldn't hear it very well. Look at this. So that takes a certain level of musical intelligence, being in tune with rhythm, understanding the fabric of music. How do you even express it? It has nothing to do with logic, right? It's something different. But different people have different levels of capacity with that. Many things, even spatial, being able to direct themselves in space. Some people can get lost in, 2 blocks, and some people have been somewhere once and they will always come back. Again, different ability. So look at all those abilities that we have that are developed to varying degrees. And now they're recognizing, look, it's not all about logic, okay? This has been way overestimated, way what they call it, when something is overhyped, like what's the right word? Overrated. Perfect, yes. So it's overrated. Many more things. So when it comes to emotional intelligence, what are we talking about? We're talking about two types of intelligence together. One of them is interpersonal, which is our ability to understand other people's emotions. So have you noticed that different people have different ability to understand other people's emotions? Somebody's very, very sensitive, like immediately recognizing what's happening with another person. Somebody, maybe you have a friend, you haven't even said anything, but the friend is like, what's wrong? What's going on with you? They already know. You haven't even said anything. Or maybe you even said, I'm great. No, you're not. What's going on? Right? Some people are completely blind and deaf. Like something major may be happening. They're not aware. Like that was me. That was me 10 years ago. Like so many situations, I and my wife go to a party. We leave the party. And she's telling me, did you see like this guy, he really doesn't like this guy, or he obviously fell in love with this guy. Like all those things going on, I'm like, were we even at the same place? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't see any of that. But she was really, women, a lot of times are more emotionally intelligent, more sensitive. So she was able to pick up on all kind of drama that I completely missed. Why? Because this type of intelligence was not, very highly developed in me. So, but that's something we can build. And another thing is called intrapersonal intelligence, which is our ability to understand ourselves. Now, it may seem like, well, don't I know myself? I know what I feel, or I know what I think. Well, it turns out that is also in varying degrees. Like, have you ever seen somebody, like somebody is getting worked up and somebody tells them, look, don't get angry, don't calm down. I am calm. What are you talking about? I'm not angry. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But it seems like you're the only one in the room who doesn't know it, right? So those things happen. Like or sometimes we feel something, like we're unsettled. But if somebody asks you, like, what exactly is wrong? Like, why are you unsettled right now? And you kind of can't really even explain. You feel squirmy, but why? You don't even know. So it actually takes a certain skill to know what exactly is happening with you in the moment and being very, very sensitive to yourself, knowing what's happening with you and being able to manage that. Because if I realize that I'm getting angry and I'm talking to my boss, it's probably not in my best interest that I continue talking with that attitude. Like, that's going to play against me. Is it going to be better if I shift? Yes, but can I do it? Can I consciously step out of anger? Can I consciously step out of misery? Like, do I have my hands on the steering wheel? Right? That's a certain skill. Again, some people, have you seen people who really are good at directing their behavior? That's a huge quality for a leader, right? To consciously decide what they're going to be doing and not just be fledgling in the circumstances, right? But some people, it seems like they're in the passenger seat of themselves. Like they're not even at all in control of what's going on, right? So basically, that's what we're talking about. When you are sensitive to other people, and when you are sensitive to yourself and can regulate yourself, it gives you power in conversations, because you can be so precise with knowing exactly what to do right now to influence the other person. But if you're not sensitive and if you're not managing yourself, then the conversation becomes haphazard and it's hard to come to an understanding. So what do we do to actually increase those skills in people? How do we work on that? And what does emotional intelligence mean, in practical terms? And here now, if I ask myself, okay, got it, you sold me, I want it, what do I do? How do I do it? Well, here's what we do. So we split emotional intelligence into two major parts. One we call diagnostics. Is, remember, the universal is our ability to kind of receive information from other people to see like what's going on with you. What are you? What's going on with you? What's going on with you? Literally like receiving signals from you. When I'm just looking at you, or maybe when I'm listening to your tonality, like picking up on information. And it takes observation, so watching the other person intently, and it takes interpretation, which is actually understanding what you're saying. For example, you're talking to a friend, okay? And you're telling your friend, hey, let's go to a ball game this weekend. And compare the responses. 1, yeah, we can do that. Another response. Yeah, we can do that. So the words are the same. Could you tell that the messages are different? They're pretty much the opposite, right? The first guy is not going. Okay? The second one, there's a likelihood that he is. Right? So where is the difference? It's not in the words. It's in the emotion that shows the state of mind of the other person. So that's exactly what we're talking about. We are observing the tonality, we hear it, and then interpret that. If he says, yeah, I guess we can go. My interpretation is, okay, he's not inspired at all by that idea, and he's letting me know he's not excited, and he's letting me know, like, let's think of something else. That's the message. Even though on the surface it seems like he's agreeing, but no. My interpretation says no. There's a problem with that. Make sense? Okay. Then the other part is self-management. It's exactly what I talked about in the beginning, managing your own emotions. So what it takes first of all self-awareness, like understanding what's happening with you, and second, a directed action, not something that just happens, not that reaction, not just something that happens because somebody provoked you, but because you meant to do it that particular way. A lot of times we're not really aware of the emotion that we are showing. And a lot of the times that emotion is going to work against us. Because, for example, suppose I and Brett agreed on something, and now Brett is saying, look, Peter, I'm sorry I can't do this. And I said something like, yeah, sure, you can do this. That's fine. That's not a problem, Brett. That's cool. Can you tell that there's a problem? Do you think Brett can tell there's a problem? And I'm saying there isn't a problem. So this is exactly where I'm being inauthentic, and he senses that. So what happens to trust between us? When I'm saying one thing, but he clearly perceives something different, the trust begins to crack. So that's the problem. A lot of times we're not really very conscious of how aligned, or they say how congruent our words and our behavior is. So this part of emotional intelligence we call self-management, like managing yourself, or emotional regulation. We'll call it self-management. So self-management is just about being very deliberate with what you're doing, because all too often we're not. Something is happening and we're not really in control of it. We're not really even aware of it, and that brings a lot of problems. So self-management, basically, we also split into two things. One is awareness, self-awareness. And the other one is we could call it conscious action. So
first, I need to be aware what the heck is going on with me. And then second, I may decide what action I take. For example, imagine, Michelle said something that upset me. For example, she may say, well, Peter, this class, it really sucked. Like, you need to do something better next time. And say, for example, I get upset. It personally affected me. Well, again, I'm trying to be cool, but if I'm not aware of the fact that I'm upset, that maybe I'm a little angry at Michelle, because of course the class was great, she just didn't get it right or whatever, or she doesn't need understand anything about emotional intelligence, like whatever ideas I have to protect myself, to defend myself against that pain, if I'm not aware of that process going on, it's very unlikely that I'm going to take a conscious action, because to get somewhere, you need to know where you begin, right? First, you need to find where you are, and only then you can lay down the path to point B, right? So this is establishing point A. This is establishing where you are. And from here, for example, if I'm aware that I'm, hurt by Michelle's comment, then before I even speak, I can first make a conscious decision, for example, like, okay, that hurts, but I need to know, I want to find out where she's coming from. Like first, before I get upset, let me understand why Michelle is disappointed. So then I can consciously shift my state from self-defense or from counterattack into curiosity, for example. And just imagine how helpful it would be for our conversation. Like in one case, I say, well, what didn't you like? Or like, what? Well, you wanted emotional intelligence, we talked about it, right? So here I go counterattacking. But like if I consciously decide, all right, before anything, I want to find out where she's coming from, and I ask, okay, I see you're disappointed. Can you help me understand what exactly was not up to your expectations? Can you imagine it's going to be a whole different conversation from this approach? This is exactly what I'm talking about. So,
why emotions are important when it comes to making decisions? Very briefly. So, we talk about brain. We all know we have a brain, right? All of us know. We have a brain. Well, but that's a general term. We actually don't have a brain. We have a brain system consisting of 3 brains. We actually have 3 brains. We really do. They all together, they all work together, but they're distinctly different, because the first brain appeared, and we have it right in our head. There's a reptile brain, which appeared like 100 million years ago when reptiles, gain a certain level of intelligence, and it's basically purely about reflexes. But it works in us. Like if I grab this and I throw it at you, before even thinking, before even understanding, like what the hell are you doing? Why are you throwing water at me? You're gonna move away or put your hand up. That's gonna be your reptile, protecting your body before you even think. It's the fastest brain in us, just responsible for survival. And then there is a limbic brain. So that is, a more advanced kind of brain that developed in mammals. So that brain thinks through emotions because animals are capable of emotions. And these emotions are necessary for animals to have social life. Like for example, a tiger, growling at the other tiger, right? They're sending a certain message. They're communicating that way. Or, whatever emotions animals show to each other to be able to relate, because they don't have a language. But that brain is still working in us. And neocortex is the most recent brain, the frontal lobe, which is about rationality, logic, and all of that, which is what actually made us human, which is how we are able to come up with all that technology and stuff, which made us the most advanced creatures on the planet. But the thing is, we think that we make decisions logically. We think we make decisions with this brain. But that is not true, and it has been proven by neuroscience now. It is not true. We think logically, but we don't make decisions logically. We make decisions with the limbic brain. Because nature designed it so animals already had to make decisions. And animals make decisions based on emotions. And it stuck around. And the way they found it, one guy got in a car accident, and his brain got damaged. His limbic brain got damaged, but his neocortex remained intact. And what was peculiar about this guy, he became completely incapable of making decisions. Like, he could rationalize, but as far as making a decision, he physically couldn't do it, because it's the limbic brain responsible for it, the emotional brain. So what happens with us, and what marketers now know, is that we don't make decisions logically. We use logic to explain our emotional decisions. Can you imagine that? I mean, that sounds weird, but that is like the chemistry of the brain. Like, literally, and that's why marketing, the advertising, some insurance, there's always like people running at the beach, and the children smiling, and I don't know, some positive pictures, because they want to pump you up with that positive emotion, and then give you just a little bit, like the best insurance plans. And so that you have this positive emotional connection to the logical idea of like buying insurance, right? So marketers know that, they're using it, because we will first make a decision emotionally, and then we'll rationalize why this decision is good. And we can rationalize anything, for or against. And it depends on the emotion that we're feeling. So that's why it's so hugely important, because guess what? When you are selling something to someone, when you are convincing anyone about anything, it is their emotion in the conversation with you that's going to determine if they are going to cooperate or not. So this is why I'm saying this is the most valuable thing I've found, because many systems rely on the logic. Here's how you convince a person. Here's what you say. Here are the words you should say. But this is all talking to neocortex. But if we're not talking to this, if we're not consciously influencing this part of our counterpart's brain, it's going to be a wasted effort, or there's going to be more effort than needed. So if we talk to this, we can make things just flow in whatever we're doing. And that is exactly emotional intelligence. A highly emotionally intelligent person can talk to that brain in the other person. And that's where things begin to flow. And that's when it becomes all of a sudden very easy to cooperate with other people. That's why some people, it seems like they're saying all the same stuff, but people listen. The other person is saying all the same stuff, nobody wants to listen. Like, how come? Doesn't make sense. But that is why. Because one is talking to this brain and the other one is not. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Oh yeah, one little thing. Just a little math. These numbers show the number of neurons in those brains. Check this out. A billion neurons here, 15 billion here, and 70 billion here. Do you understand, like just from pure numbers, like where mostly our brain is? Like, most of our brain is this. And I'll show you something else. We're at Microsoft here. We're all aware of IT on some level. So, processing speed, it matters, right? And that's how we are now progressing so fast, because processing speed in computers is getting faster. Compare this. The processing speed of our logical brain is 40 bits per second. Basically bits of information. 40 bits of information per second. Limbic brain, 11 million bits per second. Can you compare like 40 to 11 million? I mean, that's a big difference. This brain is so much faster than this one that it would be comparing, like, if this is the speed of an airplane, then this is the speed of light. Like, compare the speed of a plane and the speed of light. Okay, so it's just a completely different category. So again, this brain makes decisions so fast, we become aware of it. Sometimes, they measure, sometimes we become aware of a decision we made 30 seconds later. Can you imagine that? Like you've already decided something, like you don't even know it yet, and it hits you 30 seconds later. It's ridiculous, right? But this lag is there because of that difference in speed. So the bottom line is emotions matter, and if we ignore this, we're going to have a hard time dealing with other human beings.